Hello everyone and welcome back to Always Watching. Today's foreign feature is the Mexican film TOTEM, a movie about family, love, and loss, directed by Lila Avilas. The story is based on a deeply personal experience Lila had with her family. The movie follows a family throwing what at first seems like a birthday party for a loved one dying of cancer. Most of the film takes place in the house, and the story is told through the eyes of the 7-year-old girl named Sol, who's trying to come to terms with her father's pending death. The film, it really feels like a documentary. It's basically like a snapshot of a single day. It takes place in all these incredibly intimate settings like bathrooms, living rooms, kitchens, like inside of cars. So we're constantly eavesdropping on all these conversations, and these conversations give us insight into how the family is coping with their loved one's illness. Visually, the story is full of life. Even the name of the film, Totem. So totems symbolize the relationship between animals, nature, and family. Throughout the movie, you will notice there are so many plants around the house, in and around the house. The symbolism with the animals, and again, I think this is to emphasize the cycle of life and death. The subject of this film is a young man named Tona. He's an artist who is dying of cancer. He has one daughter and a loving wife that we meet right at the start of the film. I thought the tone of the movie was just excellent. It starts off and you meet Tona's daughter and his wife, and they seem super excited about this birthday party, until his daughter mentions the fact that her only wish is for her father to stay alive. The movie doesn't try to make you sad. There aren't these overly dramatic conversations or moments. It very much creeps in on you. And the more sort of glimpses we see of Tona, his body, the way that he's unable to move, it's very clear that this is a man is suffering. So the gravity of the situation just slowly creeps up on you as the movie goes on. Specifically, the fact that there's really nothing this family can do to save him. And up until the end of the movie, it's almost impossible to say whether or not Tona will actually be able to come to the party. He's really on the last few moments of his life. So the purpose of this film is to honor Tona's life, and the preparation for the party is actually more important than the party itself. So most of the movie is spent in the prep, and then finally ends with the actual party. The fact that the movie spends so much time preparing for the party, I thought was kind of a metaphor in terms of preparing for death. You could read this many different ways religiously, but in the context of this movie, he's a very young man and he's dying of cancer, and he's also an artist. And you never know when you're going to die or how you're going to die, but it's very important to live your life to the fullest and live in a way that's very authentic to you, which it seems like the subject of this movie has. He's surrounded by friends, he has a family, so you do get the sense that although he's passing, he is someone that really kind of lived the best life he could with what time he had. This idea of preparing for death, I think in the context of this movie, is very much about kind of living a life that you would be proud of. So if you were to die tomorrow, or if you were to be diagnosed with something unexpectedly, you would be happy with the type of life that you lived. I felt this movie was very much interested in this transition from life to death, specifically the spiritual space that needs to be cleansed and needs to be prepared before Tona can pass through. Throughout the movie, you see that some of his family members are trying to spiritually cleanse the house of any evil, trying to basically get rid of any energy that could disrupt this day. All the adults understand what's happening. However, whether or not they accept what's happening, that's a whole other situation. And although this movie takes place in the house, this house feels massive. It feels like a labyrinth. Every room we go to, we're introduced to new people doing totally different things. Everyone's kind of in their own little world. Some members of the family are very much focused on the party, trying to clean the house, really trying to make this the best party that they can. Other members of the family are very much focused on the day after. We see that some of Tona's artwork is being sold off, likely to pay off his medical bill. So, the family is very stressed about how they're going to be able to continue once he does pass. Tona's sister is in total denial. She's talking about chemotherapy, she's talking about treatments, but from what we see in the movie, like, Tona has decided that he no longer wants treatment. Like, he's suffering and he kind of wants this suffering to end. And I thought the moment that kind of broke my heart is his father, who's also very sick. And I don't think any parent wants to outlive their child. And so he's almost unable to look at his son in the state that he's in. So he spends most of the movie like preparing this gift, this plant that his son will not be able to take care of or tend to in any way. His daughters and cousins, like the kids in the film, are not as aware of what's happening, but they do know that like this is very serious. Like, they do have a sense of like kind of the idea of what's going on. Now, in terms of characters, like, we don't really get to know anyone on a very deep level. Like, the movie's more interested again in this larger question of like death and coping with death and this relationship between life and death. But there was a moment where, you know, especially the closer we get to the party, his daughter's soul, like, her behavior starts to change totally. And the reason for that is it kind of dawns on her that her father will be passing very soon. So the movie ends with the party, and the party itself is pretty impressive. Like, it has high energy, it has good vibes, it's not depressing at all. Like, it really does seem like a great time. People are hanging out, people are chilling. And again, you get the sense that most of the people in the party have already kind of prepared themselves for what is to come. And during this party, everyone is basically like expressing sort of a past memory they had of Tona. And, you know, these memories are basically to emphasize what kind of person they think he is. And they seem to all be really attached to him in their own way. Like, again, this party is to honor his memory. Like, he may be physically gone, but he will never be forgotten. The party is also an opportunity for the family to say their goodbyes. Like, death is always a surprise, right? How many times do we wish we could take back what we said, or we wish we said this, or we wish we said that? So this party is also an opportunity for the family to kind of make any apologies, or basically say whatever it is they need to say, so that there are no regrets, right? Like, everything just, like, they can kind of be at peace with themselves also. What else struck me about the party is how many people that Tona had around him. Like, so many people die alone. That's not something that we talk about. And so this guy had like a massive tribe. Like, it was a sizable party. And so it seems like his impact on others was pretty massive. Like, people were really he had people from his childhood, people from work, like all kinds of people like speaking about his character and what kind of person he was. There's never any like massive breakdown in this movie. Like, even during this party, you're kind of expecting one person to lose it. Like, his sister almost does, but she manages to keep her composure. And so this party is basically the last good memory that they will have together. So everyone tries to keep the spirits alive, keep the energy up. The party is both a blessing and a curse, because again, it's like the last time they will all be together. And so towards the end of the movie, we focus on Soul, and you can see how depressed his daughter is, how sad she is, because as much as she's enjoying herself at this party, she also doesn't want it to end, because she knows that once it ends, her father will go. Overall, I really respected this movie's ambition. I think so much of life is about human relationships, and the fact that Tona was surrounded by his family and friends, I felt was kind of like the perfect ending. And even the last shot of his daughter she's so depressed, because again, when this party ends, her father will pass. And this movie tries to look at things from both sides, not just what Tona is going through, but also what the family is going through, right? This tension. Everyone is trying to deal with it on their own, but eventually they're going to have to come together. Eventually they're going to have to deal with it together and find a way to move on together. And so this party was also a way of like reunifying the family, and also paying respects to this individual they loved very much. And so this was a very impressive movie. Like, I'm still thinking about it. Like, it kind of creeps up on you. And you guys let me know what you think, and until next time.